Okay. I think can you click the share screen,
Okay,
please?
okay,
I
okay.
still
Yes, I allow you.
yeah.
Just start.
Is it already sharing?
No, I can't see your slides.
For a while. Because still we are in the new normal right now. Okay.
Just try it again.
Yeah. Still loading.
Mhm. शेख साहब आप आवाज सुन रहे हैं?
आ रही है।
हाँ, वो शेख साहब का एक सवाल था, वो पूछना चाह रहे थे, तो उसी देर में वो पूछ लें अगर उनसे पूछना है तो। डॉक्टर अहमद शेख।
मैं अपना Salaria Sahib, thank you very much आपका and the couple of more people over here, the Asad Sahib and Dr. Shahir Sahib and Asad Sahib and Fatma Sahib जो आई थी अभी. I love to talk to the Evan. मैं बहुत सारी चीजें ऐसी हैं
पूछ ले आप
जो
उनसे।
because he मैं बताना चाह रहा हूँ आपसे.
जी 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 जी।
मेरा अपना ज़ाती experience है because he is from Beaumont and I'm from Beaumont as well. I remember the time when by 1984 I myself was there when I was Pakistan representative in London. तो बात ये है कि उन्होंने न्यू नॉर्मल की बात की है. न्यू नॉर्मल is a very 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 good concept, but new normal is not paying better, but even ये worse condition की तरफ जा रहा है because the information which we are getting to new normal are just one click away, he said. ये हमें ज्यादा नुकसान दे रही है क्योंकि लोगों में लिटरेसी रेट बहुत कम है. मैं मीडिया स्पेशलिस्ट हूँ, मेरा ताल्लुक चूंकि इंटरनेशनल मीडिया से है. हमने ये बात नोट की है कि जो इंफॉर्मेशन जो इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट के बारे में या कोविड से इकोनॉमिक को जो झटका लगा है उसके बारे में जो इंफॉर्मेशन प्रोवाइड की जा रही है, if this information is not really the real information as we are getting and all that. The reason being is, if you see, we have 76 Chinese hotel in Lahore, and 2 of them are working and the rest is. तो यहाँ तक तो बात ठीक है, यहाँ तक तो बात ठीक है. लेकिन at the same time, how to fight with the COVID, right? The information which is being provided on internet, through Twitter, through different sources of the new media landscape, they are 80% are the misleading. Yeah, 80% misleading. You remember, कहा जाता था कि जून आएगा, मई आएगा, पाकिस्तान से कोरोना भाग जाएगा. So you see the उसका जो increase है, it's increasing instead of decreasing, it's increasing. So it means the new normal, instead of new normal में वो तमाम लोग आते हैं जो mature हैं, जो प्रोफेशनल हैं, जो नॉन प्रोफेशनल हैं, जो बच्चे हैं, जिसका दिल चाहता है वो न्यू नॉर्मल में आता है, एक जूम मीटिंग कंडक्ट करता है और एक गलत इंफॉर्मेशन लोगों को प्रोवाइड करके चला जाता है. जहाँ तक इकोनॉमिक का ताल्लुक है, Urban has provided a very, very good information as far as the global economy is concerned. But if we concentrate into the Pakistan economy is around $100 billion under debt. But by the grace of Allah the Almighty, some steps are going to be taken, which is going to be in a better way. But at present, Pakistan economy, because of COVID, is really down. Around 50% job in universities. अभी तो प्रोफेसर साहब मैं खुद भी यूनिवर्सिटी से हैं, इनकी भी डाउन हो रही है. तो मेरी गुजारिश ये है कि एक ऐसी स्कीम बनाई जाए. न्यू नॉर्मल में मेरा अपना ज़ाती ख्याल है कि न्यू नॉर्मल एट प्रेजेंट स्टेज में एक बेनिफिशियल साबित नहीं हो रहा, बल्कि ये एक मनफी रुझान की तरफ हमें लेके जा रहा है. तो इसमें न्यू नॉर्मल में इसको स्ट्रक्चर्ड करना चाहिए. न्यू नॉर्मल इज प्रोबेबली वन ऑफ द मोस्ट अनस्ट्रक्चर्ड फॉर्मेट ऑफ पासिंग इंफॉर्मेशन टू द वर्ल्ड. तो मेरा अरविंद साहब से दरख्वास्त है कि इसको स्ट्रक्चर्ड करें और इसमें उन लोगों को लेकर आएं, वो लोग इंफॉर्मेशन पास करें जो अथॉरिटी हों. जैसे कि डॉक्टर साहब आप अथॉरिटी हैं, डॉक्टर साहब को मैंने अभी देखा था, डॉक्टर राशिद से शायद वो अथॉरिटी थे, सज्जाद साहब हैं. इस किस्म के लोगों को आना चाहिए. तो बहरहाल आप बात इनसे, मैं इनकी स्लाइड सुन रहा हूँ, I'm listening and मैं दूसरी साइडों पे सुन के ज्यादा इल्म हासिल करना चाहता हूँ. मेरे ज़हन में ख्याल आया था कि न्यू नॉर्मल जो है ना, वो कोई ऐसी बड़ी
Dr. Irfan.
Just start your presentation.
Again.
Okay.
Okay, so okay, good afternoon from the Philippines. I am Dr. Erwin Martinez Fowler. I'm the director for internationalization and linkages office, and also the visiting professor in Bournemouth University, United Kingdom. No? As what I have heard a while ago, even though I don't understand the words, but then it's all about COVID. We are all debating about COVID, right? And
Yes.
I think that's a very interesting topic for all of us to know and to identify what to be our coping strategies then in terms of COVID-19, and that will be shared later on. No? So the main topic for today is all about COVID-19 pandemic effects, and in terms of the economy, the education, and research. And I think I have already heard a while ago, but Sir Ahmad a while ago, that what is really the data? What is really the real data that we are looking at? No? Because sometimes the Ministry of Health, perhaps, or the Department of Health may be hiding something about who actually infected and how many are actually infected. If I'm going to reveal to you, all of you, that almost 80% of the world is already infected, what will be your response? That would be a public health crisis, right? So that is what we're going to tackle about later on. Now, this is an acknowledgement to all of us, to the professors, to the deans, to the different universities that are attached with, and participants who are here to listen with the talk. And I would like to acknowledge also Bournemouth University, United Kingdom, San Pedro College, Center for Pharmacy Practice, Research and Policy in Asia, and Global Health Pharmacy for allowing me to be here to talk with you virtually with regards to COVID-19 pandemic. Now, I am located in the southern parts of the Philippines, as what I've mentioned, and this is actually in Mindanao, one of the beautiful islands in the Philippines, wherein there are a lot of beaches. But as we all know that this is already a pandemic, no one is already in the beach, or else they will be going to be captured by the police. No? But as you can see in the United Kingdom and also in the US, there's a lot of people already in the beaches right now. I don't know in Pakistan, but they're already in a beautiful suit and they are very sexy already in the beach. I don't know what is all about social distancing, if that will be in the tourist side or in the beach side. No? So that I am actually connected with San Pedro College, one of the top university in terms of medical courses. Counseling respiratory therapy, physical therapy, and nursing. So there's a lot of varied courses that we offer. And of course, we have renowned in terms of our researches, particularly on natural products, uh, the Department of Science and Technology in the Philippines. Now, all of us are working at home, right? And I'm sure majority of us are actually working from home. This is a new normal. And these are my discussion points, more on the economy, on the health, pharmacy, in the education, particularly on pharmacy and medical courses. How do we going to deliver? And of course, what are some researches that are trending nowadays? What are some of the practices of pharmacy and what's next after this virtual presentation? Okay, so as we all know that in the global impact, there's really a great impact in terms of economy, whether it is a direct cost or indirect cost, whether it's a short term or long term. As we all know, in the short term, there's really there's a lot, whether it's a health, education, travel, and tourism. There are almost 20 to 80% of the global population being infected. That's already according to the different researches. That is really the trend nowadays, 20 to 80%. And almost 1.3 billion, no? That's very, very large already. 1.3 billion in only in India that are already in place in terms of lockdown within 21 days. No? How much more in Pakistan? How much more in Philippines? In the Philippines already, we have almost 100 million population already. So all of us already been locked down. No? And what would be the effect then for the economy, for tourism, for education? And not all of us, no, will actually have this longer duration of time to be in lockdown because of maybe physical and of course mental effects to all of us. So it has also a barrier, no, in terms of our mental and physical wellness also. Not only that, as we all know, there's a great also loss in terms of human resources and of course systemic failures in terms of our infrastructure, particularly in our hospitals. Our hospitals are not ready for this COVID-19 pandemic. No? So that's the real impact then. In terms of policy response in COVID-19 pandemic, as we all know, that there's a lot of responses throughout the world, whether we're going to close, there's a massive closure in terms of education sector, tourism, and of course business, but that will not be a long term. It should be in a shorter term. Why? Because people need to be, our younger generation need to be educated. People will go from one places to another, whether it's locally or internationally. And of course, our business need to be open. And one of the business is actually academe, right? And of course, we don't have salary if we don't work, of course, right? So some of us may be working at home, depending upon the policy response of every country. Now, this is the data from World Health Organization. Particularly, there are almost 9 million as of yesterday infected with COVID-19 pandemic, and there are almost 487 deaths, 487,000 deaths, and of course, being recovered, 5 million have been recovered with this pandemic. And you can see its tremendous effect to all of us, no? And it makes no, having a phobia of a lot of people, having interaction and engagement to one another. So there's an imposition of social distancing, hand washing. So it has a positive impact also. Why positive impact? Because people becomes more conscious in terms of hygiene. The negative impact is that people die because of this COVID-19 pandemic. And also there's a lot of physical and of course mental effects to a lot of people. Some of them, based on our online consultation, have affected also in terms of mental stress, depression, and of course, anxiety to people. Let's try to look at also in Pakistan, how it really affected all of us also. In terms of 192,970 people have been infected, and that is yesterday, plus 4,000 has been added up with that. And some of them have been recovered, and of course, some of them unfortunately die because of COVID-19 pandemic. And I heard some of my friends posted in Facebook that their colleagues, pharmacists, medical providers, doctors, have been a victim of this pandemic, died because as a hero, as a frontliner, because of this COVID-19 pandemic. And according to the Department of Health in the Philippines, there are almost 33,000. This is the largest in Southeast Asian region in comparison with Indonesia, with other Southeast Asian neighbors that we have. And we have almost 778 cases reported yesterday night. And there are almost almost 1,212. It's not that, it's not easy to have 1,000 people die because of this COVID-19. So it's a great impact, not only to the health, but also to the people. Okay? And of course, there are recovered. Okay? And of course, there are also death. Okay? According to the Department of Health, that in terms of occupational rate level for hospitals, there are almost 869 number of facilities for each level based on occupancy rate. As you can see, there are almost 33,000 been infected, and you have only minimal beds capacity and minimal also ICU beds, minimal isolation beds, minimal ward beds in comparison to 33,000 being infected, whether it's symptomatic or asymptomatic. So that has really an impact to the Department of Health, at the same time also to the hospitals, especially also to the frontliner like us, who are actually dealing with COVID-19 patients. And of course, in availability of equipment, there are almost 1,967 all over the country, having only mechanical ventilators. 1,967 is quite few, no? In comparison to the different archipelagic areas in the Philippines. Okay, so this is actually from Japan, from one of the president in the university. No? In the left side, you can see a graduation, a convocation by President Kenichi Omei, who possesses this kind of an iPad for those graduates. No? They already graduate, but it's not face-to-face, but they graduate via virtual. Okay, like this, using Zoom. But then, because of infection, you cannot have a graduation, which is actually face-to-face. So they innovate themselves. Japan innovate that by using an iPad, you can see their face virtual and having a photo with the president of a certain university. Okay? And in the right side, you can see that the increasing development for research. Now, research and development, particularly on vaccine. And not only vaccine in terms of diagnostic for PCR tests and diagnostic tests for COVID-19 patient. You can see also on the right side below, you can see a pharmacy having social distancing between one another. You can see that in buying with medication, you need to have this protocol that even, between the layers between a pharmacist and a patient, there is a plastic covered between the pharmacist and also so there's also social distancing and protection against COVID-19 pandemic. Now, another, in the right side, you can see a particular professor, a lecturer, who's actually having virtual engagement with a student. Without any student, you can see that the chairs are not filled. It's more on virtual. The lecturers are in the university without the students. You can see the waste of the infrastructure. You can see the waste of money built by all of the capitalists having this building and no one is there. Only the lecturers are only there. So it's a waste of money. So maybe as of the moment, we need to invest for our lecturers and teachers having good connectivity, at the same time, a good infrastructure in terms of connection and engagement with the student. Because some of the students don't have a good connectivity, especially in a far-flung areas. I'm sure in Pakistan, there are students they are living in a very far place in the rural areas that we're in. They cannot even afford a good connection for internet connection. And on the next slide, you can see that there are moving into education. There are global policy and impact to education. You can see in Malaysia, online teaching and delivery, according to the Malaysian Qualifying Agency in 2020, there are temporary actions fully online. You cannot see a face-to-face. It's already blended learning that they are adopting, and they are adjusting in terms of assessment and education on student learning. And they're adjusting the expectation that not most of the student can have can have 8 hours of engagement. You cannot see the student to have no in 8 hours. You can see the teacher and lecture, or else they may have weaker connectivity. Then they lower their student time or credit hour of this synchronous teaching with the students. And according to the Philippines, also in the Department of Education and the Commission on Higher Education, they have released an advisory number 5 and number 6 on the suspension of classes during March 15, 2020, and all of us shifted to online education. How about those students who don't have a good connectivity? How about the blackouts? How about those students who don't have even a laptop? How about a lecturer who has the first time to see the laptop, who had the first time to connect with internet? How about those teachers who don't have even a gadgets? So that's the major question. So it's still debatable as of the moment. But the government now in the Philippines are giving laptops, giving iPads to the lecturers who are in the rural areas. Question here is connectivity for students, to those who are poor students and poor lecturers. Okay? And in Indonesia, the Ministry of Education and Culture in Indonesia have have a closure of their educational sector for those 68 million students from primary to tertiary students, and most of the most of them go online also. Even in Mongolia, that's the major problem. The major problem is that there is a lack of internet connectivity for those. As we all know that in Mongolia, there may be students who are living in some mountains or even in the rural areas. So that's the major problem in terms of global policy and impact to the we are all not ready for this. As we all know, let's face the fact, we are not all ready for this. So all of us are still coping up to this education in this new normal. And as a method of teaching, there may be what we call as synchronous and asynchronous teaching. So what we are doing right now, like this live telecast, is what we call as synchronous teaching. So synchronous is like having video conferencing, live chat, live streaming of videos to address what is really the questions of our student. That is what we call as synchronous learning. Okay? While if that would be asynchronous from A, what we call absence. Asynchronous is like having a pre-recorded video to them, a blog, a comment, a flip classroom wherein we already as a lecturers already recorded our videos ahead of time and we release it to the student, and of course they're gonna view it for a couple of times and then wait for synchronous learning. Sir, can we actually combine this synchronous and asynchronous learning? Yes, we can actually combine it by what we call as blended learning. So what is all about blended learning? So this is a combination of asynchronous and asynchronous learning, wherein in this for the next few weeks or in the next day, we can have asynchronous learning. You can adopt 1 week for video conferencing, and then later maybe on the next day you can have it pre-recorded, or you can have a blog. You can just post your PDF format file. You can have let the student engage first with what they are learning and then throw the question to you once you are live or synchronous learning, meaning live conferencing like this. So it can be a blended learning. Okay? So in the blended learning, there's what we call as 4 C's: connection, collaboration, clarification, critical thinking. This must be adopted in this blended learning. So connection must be in place, meaning that it is not only that you're talking here, talking, then your students are sleeping because they just covered it. Some of the students, very intelligent, because they will put their name as connecting, connecting. You thought that they are connecting, but their name is connecting. So it's very funny wherein you will see why is the student actually not moving, because they may have ways nowadays to cheat also, that they are attentive but they are not already listening to you because they may be engaging with household chores. Their mother or their father will ask them, oh, you cook already, you know, everything is already with them, so they don't have a time anymore. There must be a connection. Engage with the with your students. Number 2 is that clarification. If you want to have clarification, you cannot actually do that one in a asynchronous learning because you already pre-record it. It is time for you to have your questions in the synchronous learning, wherein you have this live interaction like this. If you have a question, you just put it in a chat box and you will have your questions. Number 3 is collaboration, wherein you will have a collaboration not only with your student, but collaborate also with the parents. Because sometimes the parents are irritating because they will always tell because they are in one house, right? They will always tell their student, hey, cook your meal, do this, do that. So they will not be able to do their work. Okay? So we need to collaborate everyone, including the parents also. And another one is this synchronous and asynchronous learning, we must involve them to critical thinking. What are those activities that have this critical thinking? Guide question would be one of it, wherein they were going to develop their critical thinking by asking questions, critical questions. Number two, that is not in your slide. Out of the box questions. Number two is that asking them in terms of, case studies, problem-based learning, and others. You can actually make them in the breakout groups, wherein they're going to engage with their co-students, okay, with your supervision. Now, take note of this four C's in terms of blended learning: connection, clarification, collaboration, and of course, critical and conceptual thinking. Now, moving on with this slide, we have conducted a study in the Philippines with a student during pandemic attack. And we have found out that most of the teachers and lecturers actually use Google Classroom, Zoom, and of course Edmodo during the time. Okay, so these are quite easy for them to use, and it's a free online, so you don't need to pay. But Zoom, if you are more than 1 hour, that would be, they need to commercialize that. At the same time, most of us in the Philippines are undergoing 82% are doing online. And according to our research, that there is a moderate effectivity. Why moderate? Because some students have problems in terms of accessibility. Some of them on off in terms of connection. At the same time, health balance. We need to look at the student if they are already okay of this online learning, because they have a lot of hesitations of online learning. You think that they are in this generation wherein they are very savvy? No, they have a lot of hesitation in terms of using also online. At the same time, some of the students experience depression and anxiety during the time of. And of course, some of them, in fairness, in terms of they are satisfied and they are engaged also with their lecturers. So this is something to ponder for us in terms of connection. We don't push the student that on, if you give assignments or case study to the student, tomorrow you have the result. No, you need to have ample time for them to research, ample for time for them to connect. So we need to let the student have at least 3 days or 1 week for them to do their assignment, to do their research for that, because of connectivity. We never know, we cannot judge the student that they may have a low connectivity in their home or in their particular place. Now you can see in the slide that there are some of them may have high bandwidth, okay, high bandwidth, meaning very good connection, 15% above 10 Mbps. Have most of them may have in moderate, and some of them may have low bandwidth. You can see if there is a high and low, and if it is immediate or not. If you want to have a result immediately, or the student have question that is immediate, what will be your modalities or strategy? Of course, the number one strategy, if it is immediate and you need to address the concern, is by having a synchronous, very good, synchronous learning. Why? Because you want to address immediately. There is a high immediacy. So you can have video conferencing or audio conferences. But then, if it takes around, it's not immediate, and it can be solved in a 1 week or 2 weeks time, or even a month, you can have in a Microsoft Word, you can have a pre-recorded, you can have asynchronous learning, you can have by email, just email the PDF slide or the PDF things that you want to have for your student. So that's all. It depends upon how immediate. So you need to lower your expectation at this time of COVID-19 pandemic. So that is things to ponder as of the moment of this new normal. We need to give time to our student. Unlike with the face-to-face, if you want to have a question, you immediately need to have an answer. But as of this moment, because of connectivity, we may have a problem. Some of the best practices that we have in the Philippines, based on my research, our research is that most of the students and lecturers have a good being resilient and a lot of engagement with the student via online. And the good thing is that we need to have a time in a week wherein we need to have consultation with students. Some, those which don't have a good connectivity, we may able to share a load, top up a load, or borrow a gadget program for them to connect. Okay? Because it's not that it's their problem. We need to solve the problem because education is for all, no? All of us. Okay? It's not for few. We need to be inclusive at this time of the new normal. Sharing of resources is the best thing that we need to adopt to this new normal. These are some of the things that I developed, some modules that I developed, and of course, videos that I developed on the pharmacy practice and clinical pharmacy practices in the Philippines. Okay, some of the simulations online for laboratory. We have My Dispense from Monash University on dispensing practice. We have also Pharmacopoeia for manufacturing for pharmaceutics. For pharmacology, we have also PTEC, PHET, interactive simulations for pharmacology, for some of the Boy's Law, gas law, no? Physical pharmacy. We can have it via simulations. Okay, so there's a lot of things that we can have in online. In our laboratory also, there's no excuse that we cannot do the lab. We can do it, no, via simulations and virtual simulations. Okay, so there's a lot of things and challenges in terms of education.
Arvan, just
Yes,
after 1 minute, so, again meeting ending, you have to join again with same IT.
okay, and of course, there's a lot of things that we need to consider now in terms of connectivity, coping up, and of course, self-directed learn. So that's one of the good thing also with the pandemic. Our students become more self-directed and they have more time to engage with themselves and of course wider learning. Okay, instead of
Uh,
being bookish, then of
आ-
course more
आप लोगों
engaged.
ने सेम आईडी से दोबारा ऐसे वो करना है ज्वाइन, क्योंकि अभी ये मीटिंग टाइम खत्म होने वाला है, तो सेम आईडी से दोबारा करने वाला इसकी में डॉक्टर अहमद की थोड़ी सी प्रेजेंटेशन रह गई है, वो इंशाल्लाह हम नेक्स्ट सेशन में इसको हम करते हैं.